Josh Elliott, the guy who reviews movies that nobody else cared to see. Although this movie, quite a few people cared to see it because it ended up getting a Best Picture nomination, and that is The Post. The Post is one of the few Oscar bait movies that actually got nominated for Best Picture. It's a Steven Spielberg movie, it's a true story, it stars Meryl Streep, it stars Tom Hanks. This is clear Oscar bait. The real question is it just bait or is it actually worth something? I was afraid that it would be just bait, but I was actually thoroughly impressed with The Post. I really did like it. So The Post tells the story of Katharine Graham, who was the publisher of The Washington Post back in the 70s. It ultimately tells her story along with the story of many editors of The Washington Post in how they managed to successfully print the Pentagon Papers, which exposed many government secrets about the Vietnam War and the risk that all of them took in possibly going to prison for posting that. This movie is really well made. The acting is good. The cinematography is really pretty. It felt like the 70s, like a good set design, costume design. It's consistently well made throughout. But that first 45 minutes is so freaking boring. It is everything that I was afraid the whole movie was going to be. And as I said, it's not bad, it's well made, but the Pentagon Papers aren't really even introduced until 45 minutes into the movie. The first 45 minutes is just introducing us to the characters and introducing us to the conflict between them and the New York Times. But the New York Times quickly gets out of the picture once the Pentagon Papers show up, and then it becomes just about that. Even though this movie is a few minutes short of 2 hours, I feel like it could have benefited so much from being a good 20 minutes shorter. There's an unnecessary amount of conflict that goes nowhere in that first 45 minutes. The final hour and 15 is really good. It's really freaking good. This movie in some ways is kind of like Deepwater Horizon, how it's really slow at first, but once it takes off, boy, does it take off, and it does not stop. There is a twist or turn thrown at you every second, and the thing that's so interesting is that it's all true. It is very filmsy, so they probably changed a bit of it to be more cinematic, but still, pretty much everything that happens in this movie did happen over the span of about one night. Because of that sense of time and the ticking clock of whether they're going to post the papers, whether they even have time to do it, let alone whether they want to do it, it really does build the tension. Steven Spielberg, he's just always so good at telling stories about underdog heroes. This small group of people risked everything. They didn't have to do what they did. They could have just taken all these papers and done nothing with them and all gone on with their regular lives. But no, they did it because it was the right thing to do. They could have all gone to prison. A lot of the stakes are communicated so well through Meryl Streep's performance because she is fantastic in this movie. People are always saying that Meryl Streep is such an overrated actress, and I do somewhat agree. She shouldn't have been nominated the amount of time she has. But the problem is, because of nominations like Florence Foster Jenkins and Into the Woods, movies where she really shouldn't have been nominated, when she actually does get nominated for movies like The Post where she should be nominated, then people are like, oh, it's just because she's Meryl Streep and she's such an overrated actress. But no, she really does deserve to be amongst those nominees. She's playing such a strong, dominant female character who is so confident in herself and in what she wants to do, but is so afraid of letting everyone down. She goes through this great character arc. She's just fantastic in this movie. Tom Hanks is good, but there's not really much to his character. It's a solid ensemble cast. None of the ensemble cast is like really memorable. It's mainly Meryl Streep that carries most of it, and she does it really well. Steven Spielberg's directing style for this movie is really memorable. He has the camera on a dolly for a majority of the movie, and so there are lots of shots where it's almost floating past the characters. It feels like we're observing these historical moments. There's one shot in particular where Tom Hanks is on the phone with Meryl Streep. The camera is above Meryl Streep, and it literally pans around the entire room. Oh, it's just... it's fantastic. With directing like that, you would be afraid that it would take you out of the movie because it is a very showy directing, but I think Steven Spielberg makes it work. It's the perfect balance of taking a moment to appreciate the shot, but not distracting from the story. That final hour and 15 minutes is solid, great filmmaking. But that first 45 minutes, whew, you're gonna have to get through that to get to the really good part. So I'm gonna give The Post a 7 out of 10. It's kind of on like the higher spectrum of a 7 because even the slower parts of the story, you can at least appreciate the cinematography and the directing. The screenplay as well. The words so easily flow out of the actors' mouths. It's great. What did you think of The Post if you saw it? Do you think it deserves to be nominated for Best Picture? Also, do you think it was snubbed of other awards? Because it only has 2 nominations, Best Picture and Meryl Streep. Please comment below to let me know. Click here to subscribe and click here to watch our last video. Peace out, guys.